Ideally, I got my leg out from under it when I fell over, but all things aren't ideal, and that's what happened in the first place. So, fortunately, I have something that is going to help me out, and although nothing is 100%, this is a pretty good thing, and I like my chances much better with it than without it. It's called a dirt napper, and I pack it up on the outside of the bike. You can put it inside a case. I made it small so that you can put it inside, but what if it's in that case right there? Then you can't get to it. So being on top like this, I can get to it no matter where it is. Now the idea is there is no way I can lift this bike by myself. It is 600 pounds, and I've got all the gear. I've even got my bear spray in there. But anyway, it turns out that you use mechanical advantage. All right, now this is not the time to learn how to use it. Do it in the yard. Try it a couple of times when you get it. Don't try to do it in the field. It's very easy, but now's not the time for instructions. All right, so what we have here is this tubing, very lightweight, very, very strong aircraft alloy, and I'll separate all these pieces here. We have a base plate, and I have the stickers arranged so that they always go in one way like that. Even though it will fit anyway, it's been test fitted to make sure that everything goes in the right way and is easy to use. Now if you look at the joint here, it's not just a sleeve, it goes in and has a step, so it's very, very secure. The next thing, we put this on, and then we put this on. Everything goes in line. Now, the only problem that you may encounter is that, you see this T right here? That's for the limit of travel. I've given you a little leeway, but don't go beyond that, because if you do, you'll jam the webbing up in here, and then it's a pain in the butt to get out. You have to take this pin and knock these through in order to loosen it. But I'm going to pull out the webbing all the way, and then the idea is that you're going to feed this under the bike, and this takes a little bit of doing, but it's not terrible. So we feed this underneath, and what we're going to do is, depending on the bike, you can put it around the foot peg with the loop. That's fine. You can put a hook on it, and to do that, you just feed it through and then loop it like that, and then you can attach it once again on the foot peg, on a frame member. I can put it up here. I can put it most anywhere that's a good solid piece, but the key here is try not to have too much loose material. If you do get loose material, wrap it around. Make it shorter. I'll show you another way to shorten it later. Alright, so it's all set. Now, I've gone through about 14 or 15 different iterations of this particular item, and it's evolved. So a couple of things that I noticed. Number one is that when you go to lift it up, the bike rolls out from under you. So I've included a Velcro tab, which then applies your front brake. Another thing I noticed, it puts a lot of pressure on the seat. Renasco seat's pretty expensive, and I didn't want to mess it up. So this spreads out the load surface area by putting it right like that. you put this under, slightly tilted in, and then you start to jack it up. Go slow. Don't try to do it all at once. Give it time for the springs to engage the teeth, and mechanical advantage will just pull it right back up. And when you get up a little ways, then you can stand up. I like to put my foot up against it. It's unlikely that it'll kick out, but just in case, you can never be too cautious. Now, this is a fully loaded bike with full tanks of gas, so it's heavy. Okay, now I'm up about as far as I want to go. I don't want to cut into the seat, but at this point, it's not a problem to lift it up the rest of the way and put the kickstand down. I'm done. Now all I have to do is pack it up, stow it, and I'm on my way again. Now, I showed you one method to shorten the webbing if you needed to. Here's another method. Instead of wrapping it around something, if I take this, and let's say I want the webbing shortened to this much, I put it in once, second time, and then through the loop. Now what that does, that effectively shortens it so that if I'm jacking from a point and I have too much slack, I won't ball it up and I'll get more lift. So the more slack you have, the less lift you have. The less slack, the more lift. Okay, and that's one way of doing it. Everything that you get with the dirt napper, we'll start on the outside. There's a case, and it has a reflective strip. It has dirt napper on it. You can put it in anything you would like. It doesn't matter. Better than putting it in a plastic bag. Okay, this is the ratchet end of it, and I usually stow it by jacking it up to where that T, that limit of travel, is right above there. And I noticed that sometimes it would track off to the side and it would jam. So I made this little guide which guides it straight on, and it works great. This loop is made for foot pegs that have a real aggressive tread, and it might cut the webbing, and this way it gives you a lot more thickness, longevity. The handle is longer than what you would normally get in a ratchet this size by about 5 inches. Gives you more mechanical advantage, and I coated it with heat shrink tubing. Everything is good hardware with insets, so there's nothing that's going to snag. The next piece down is just the second upright, and this is 6061 aluminum alloy from Aircraft, and it's very, very strong, and just being square, it's much stronger than round tubing. First I started with a Y shape, and I didn't like that, and eventually I went to a monopod, and like I said, it's evolved over time. First time I thought about this was about 10 years ago when I had my leg pinned underneath the machine itself. Now, this is not maybe the intended use, but like I said, nothing's perfect, but I would rather have it if I could. If I'm pinned and I have my leg under there, what's to say I couldn't use this as a lever and lever the bike off of my leg and then proceed from there. So this is the base, which I welded, and at first I started with about half the thickness, and I wanted something that wasn't going to bend. I put it, instead of in the center, I put it on the side so that it automatically digs in, and it's going to have less tendency to bend, but it have more tendency to dig in. Now, as far as if you're saying, well, what if I'm on asphalt? It works okay on asphalt. Concrete, it's a little slippery. So I thought of something last night, in the middle of the night, and for a little bit of extra traction, these rubber bands that come with it, they're made out of just an inner tube. If you put them on like this, that gives you the traction needed that you can do this in a parking lot if you need to. I used it just recently when I was on a trip across Canada and I had to get a tire changed, and I have no center stand. I took the center stand off my bikes because, first of all, I couldn't get them up on the center stand, and second of all, the weight savings by just carrying this was like, well, the center stand was like 3 times the weight of this dirt napper. So you get that, you get the pad that eases going in, and it's also good for spreading out the load so it doesn't damage your seat or anything. And you get instructions and all that for a very nominal price. I think it's well worth it. I have it on every one of my bikes.